Hey everybody, doing a vlog. Wanted to get some interesting thoughts just off my chest. I'm at the elementary school near my house. I run on the track here if I sound out of breath or look tired or hot or anything. Basically they have an awesome playground area with a track around it, and then a little trail around the building that's like a little sidewalk road to run on. So I come here a lot because it's literally outside my door. And I've been meditating on my part that I'm playing in relationships that are unsuccessful for me, as far as friends that I'm no longer friends with, past romantic boyfriends, my husband now currently, just things that are bothering me about these situations. And I know that I also play a part because it takes two people to be in a relationship. And I'm sure I'm not perfect by any means, or that I caused some of the issues in these different relationships. But I was kind of looking for patterns, and I did discover a pattern today. Two of the female friends of mine that called themselves my best friends had similar patterns, and I just started figuring that out today. So maybe this will help me unravel this a little bit. Another thing that I realized in the last couple weeks just in general is I do have a lot of high expectations and high standards to how my friends should treat me or how I think they should communicate with me, and I do need to loosen up on that because I have to realize that not everyone thinks exactly like me. So I hope that that helps me in the future, and I'm trying to be more understanding about different people's communication style, and that just because I expect people to react how I react or to respond how I would respond doesn't mean that's how it goes. So basically this thing I just figured out today, I had a friendship with someone who I met while I was working a contract administrative assistant job. I met her in 2006, and she was one of the only female engineers at the company I worked at as an administrative assistant. She was only one of two engineers that were women in this group, and she was a contractor as well. So a lot of the men didn't really associate with her much because at that facility, if you're a contractor, you're like trash, which I was kind of treated that way too, but I didn't care. I was just in it for some money while I was getting ready to go back to school. And B, she was a woman, and they were all kind of a men's group, kind of a men, like the boys club, so she was left out. So we kind of were drawn to each other fairly quickly. I think I started at the job maybe about 2 weeks before she did, and I supported the group of engineers that she worked in. And it was an interesting job. I learned a lot of things on the job, but we got to know each other quite well because I had been there just a few weeks longer. I showed her where things were. She realized I was, approachable and she could talk to me. And we both had quite a commute to get to the job. I was living near Monroe, Michigan at the time, traveling to Ann Arbor, and she was living in Madison Heights, Michigan at the time, traveling to Ann Arbor. So it was pretty, we had some similarities and things in common besides that, we had both worked in the same department. Well, so she started seeing some things that were going on as far as just me not being treated very well because I was a woman in this male-dominated situation, and kind of looked down on because I was sort of the secretary and I'm supposed to be quiet and make coffee, that kind of situation. And I started seeing she was being treated that way too, and we had a lot of bonding over that, and she kind of, would support me emotionally kind of at work when I was having a bad day or vice versa. We started having lunch together, growing closer, exchanging phone numbers, and then she actually got offered a job about 2 weeks after I had left that job for another job, and I did temporary work for a while before I did go back to school, so it wasn't a big deal. But we kept in touch. She ended up getting engaged to this guy, moving to Ohio for this job, and she had sent me a invitation to her wedding, which would be in Michigan still in the summer, and kind of a save the date kind of invitation, and was all excited. We talked on the phone here and there. Well, then come about a month or two before the wedding, and she called me crying and screaming, basically was moving back to Michigan. Everything had went bad with this guy, And when she came back to Michigan, I swear I couldn't even recognize her. She had lost a ton of weight, looked pale and sick. She was just not the happy person I'd known. I'm not going to get into what happened, but he did some really dirty things to her that were wrong. And pretty much just like within weeks of the wedding, called it off and left the country. So I was there for her for about 3.5 years while she was kind of figuring herself out, moving back to Michigan, getting new jobs. Like she had a couple before we broke it off being friends. But pretty much we made a date every Wednesday to get together for like dinner or lunch or a drink or something, just to see each other, talk, and we were kind of each other's like support, emotionally, counselor, thing like that. Well, then she meets this guy and asked me, what do I think? And this was my mistake. I was honest because she asked me what I thought. I said I was really nervous for her because he was an alcoholic. I'd met him about 3 times before they got seriously together, because he would kind of hang around, or he started hanging around more and kind of meeting us if we went to the bar to do karaoke. And he would get falling down drunk. He would be violent. He would be like one of those people that gets in fights every time they go to the bar and drink. He wasn't able to drive because he didn't have a license due to so many DUIs, and there was just a lot of red flags. So I told her, I said, if you end up getting with this guy, I'm worried about you because, he'll never get his license back. He's an alcoholic. There's all these red flags, but I support you. And a little bit after that, I moved to our new place in Sterling Heights, started a new career, a whole new type of work actually. And at that time, she saw my house, gave me a dirty look before she left the house. Shortly after that, my grandmother passed away, and that was the end of our friendship. She never gave me an explanation. She kind of just broke it off. And then she actually invited my cousin to her wedding and married that guy who was alcoholic. So I don't know what happened after December of 2012, because she wouldn't talk to me after that and completely cut me off. So I still don't know that I did anything necessarily wrong, but I know she did not want to hear the truth about her now, I guess, husband, if they're still together. So fast forward to this year of 2016, and a similar situation happened, and I didn't realize how similar it was until just today, which is really, I guess I'm slow. I guess I'm a little bit, it's hard to, I guess, have the full awareness in your own life when you're going through it. But basically, I had a coworker. I was actually her manager at a job, and when we worked together, we're not really close friends, but after we stopped working together, I had actually been offered a higher paying position and left the job after about a year, and she remained there and then left later. We still stayed in touch, but she had ended up moving out, divorcing her husband, and the whole time she was moving in and separating from her husband, she was kind of asking me to be more of a support, and I did. I stepped up and we became closer. I would make a date once or twice a week to go to her place and have coffee or take her out to dinner once in a while. I was there for her, listening to her crazy dating stories from people she'd meet on the internet to go out with, because I understand she was lonely and meeting people and wanting to get out there, and there for her during her whole divorce process, and kind of almost the same thing as before, where we had worked together. She was with someone, but then they separated and it was ugly, so I was there for her. But then, guess what? She meets Mr. Right, supposedly. There's a lot of red flags that this guy is not an honest guy, and she straight up asked me about 2 situations of things he did that were dishonest towards me, and one of them was only towards me, but the other one was towards me and my husband, the situation. And now we pretty much have cut each other off. We both mutually cut it off on this one, but it's a very similar situation where they don't want to see that their partner, their friend who's been there for them for years and supported them, is telling them they're concerned about this partner and this is why, and there's all these red flags, and that it's easier to dump me because I'm the squeaky wheel and I'm annoying than to see that their partner may not be good. And I figured out today too, they both have very low self-esteem. They both have weight issues, which I do too, but they just maybe don't feel their self-worth is as high as mine. They both have other areas of low self-esteem, and they both come from chaotic upbringings, which isn't an excuse, but I just got all of these different revelations today on how the situations are so similar. It still hurts when, you know, you're really close with somebody for years as a friend. Both of them were over, the first one was like over 6 or 7 years we were friends. The second one was like 3 or 4 years, so that's a long time. And I'm still sorting out, like, really in the pattern, why am I picking friends or being so loyal to people that can so easily be offended by me telling them the truth? And how is it so hard for me to find friends that are, I call a best friend, that are a female? How do I find those people that they respect what I'm saying and they take what I'm saying into consideration? And yes, they're going to make their choice either way, but they can still have me and the guy at the same time. And I told this second friend that this recently happened, like within the last couple months, and this situation was, you know, I don't think you should even have to pick. You should still be able to be friends with me, and it shouldn't be that awkward. Just because I have concerns doesn't mean you guys can't really work out, and it might be great for you guys. And I even said that to her maybe more than 5 times before this all went really bad. And she said I made it too awkward, but I feel it's really her low self-esteem that makes it awkward. And she's not one to stand up for herself, and neither was this other person. So I do think you're a coward if you can't tell someone you're calling your best friend a full explanation of why you're just cutting them off. I do think that's a cowardly thing. I think I was at least owed that for all the time and energy that I put into you in our relationship. But, you know, that just shows how weak they are. But I just thought it was interesting, the pattern repeated again. I'm going to figure out, hopefully, what the lesson is I was supposed to learn in both. I obviously didn't learn it the first time because I repeated it again. So, oh well, love everyone, and I hope this wasn't too long. Have a good day.